Welcome back to Moon Harbor Heroes. This is Storyteller, Issue 1, Two Boys and a Poet. On the cover, we see an older boy, dressed in a ratty suit and wearing lobster claws on his hands. He pulls along a younger boy in a bee-patterned sheet, and a younger girl in a life vest with the words Bomb Squad painted on it. The three figures are small compared to the trees towering above them. The branches above them make out a face, leering down at our young heroes. We turn the page, and our story begins. Our issue opens in a very traditional-looking study, presumably in a grandiose mansion. Dark wooden walls covered in bookshelves are illuminated by a fireplace behind a desk. And sitting at that desk, staring down at something, is the storyteller. He's an older man, dressed in an older-looking tuxedo. The next panel cuts in on the desk, which is littered with pens, colored pencils, other writing implements, as well as a comic, obscured effectively by the storyteller's hands. The next panel cuts to a close-up of his face as the storyteller stares directly at our readers. A speech bubble, in slightly old-fashioned and spooky lettering, reads, "On All Hallows Eve, the ghouls come to play, and here in Moon Harbor they might try to stay. The children are gleeful, they never will meet the monsters who stalk them down each darkened street. There's tricking and treating and haunting, you know it. In our first issue, Two Boys and a Poet." He moves his hands away from the cover of the comic, showing that it is in fact the cover we were just looking at. He then turns the page, and our story begins. It is Halloween, everyone. And as we know, that is both the spookiest night of the year and the best night of the year, because that is a night where you get a lot of candy and all sorts of good things like that. But also, people play mean tricks on you, especially when they feel wronged. Teddy, you were recently the victim of one such trick because you dressed up as the mobster, and so did one of the most popular kids in your class. What was the trick they pulled on you? What did they do to, like, spook you?
I think they do a really good mobster impression and threw their shadow and made me think it was the actual mobster.
Were you with Ethan and Teddy at this point?
Yeah, I think so. Does that work?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I feel like if they're brothers, they're together.
It's one of those kids that just like shows up places, like doesn't really have a friend group. So yeah, she was there.
Excellent. This big shadow appeared on the wall, and the older kid, I think the kid was probably about 14. It's a big kid, made like a scary mobster voice, and the three of you kind of took off into the woods. And there's some running, which resorted to some like tripping. When you turn around, you can't see the entrance to the woods anymore. Just this long path that you're currently on. And the wind begins to whistle ever so quietly through the trees above you, and the clouds part, and kind of in front of you on the path, you can see a small, what looks like a cave in the rocks up ahead, but there's something written above it, but you can't read what that says.
I got this. And Ethan holds up his light up amulet and presses the button. And it lights up, but not that much, but he's still really excited about it. And I think it like does some sort of like a couple musical notes like doot doot doot.
Excellent.
I love it.
That sounds like Stumble Upon. It sounds like you're using a special move there.
Hell yeah.
So go ahead and roll plus noodle, and since you're using your toy, you get a +1 to that. So I think that ends up being a just natural 0.
Hell yeah. First roll of the game. 4.
Off to a great start.
Excellent.
I think, can I make a suggestion for this?
Please.
I think like the light just is not enough to even like barely light up my face. Like you can't see anything with it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it lights up red, and this is still comic book, so we get like a panel of like the amulet and what looks like it's going to be super epic, and it like is glowing in close up, and then we pull it back, and that glow extends like 2.5 inches away.
It was totally from the dollar store. And I had to have it.
And you had to have it. It was the hot $1 toy of the year. You can't read what there are words written above the doorway, but you can't read what they say. And at that moment, the moon very, very quickly disappears from behind the trees. It was a pretty clear night, and suddenly there are clouds above you. And there's a clap of lightning, or a clap of thunder, and a flash of lightning. And then it's very, very dark.
I'm
Ah!
I'm looking around on the path. I'm like, I guess we should go in the cave. I think it's gonna rain.
In the cave? Isn't that where the monsters are?
I mean, just a little bit. Just don't go deep.
That's a good
Oh.
idea.
Yeah, I don't like the dark.
Excellent. Sounds like we're going into the cave.
Yeah, I guess so.
Fantastic. You all get into the entrance of the cave, and sure enough, it does start to rain.
Oof.
And they're like big droplets, bigger than droplets you've seen kind of ever in your life. These look like teaspoons of water being like dropped from the sky, and they make this like really loud like plinking sound. They're almost musical. It almost sounds like music notes as it hits the cobblestone path.
Music. Can I recite
It-
poetry? Can I? You have to finish the description first. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. That sounds great. Go ahead and roll plus noodle.
Okay. Well, I'll use since I've got a little red wagon, I'll like pat I'll like pat a beat out like along with the rain on the wagon, and I'll say,
Great, that works for me.
"This cave is dark. It has no end, but I am here with both my friends. I wish I knew more about this place. Otherwise, I'll scream with my face."
Fantastic. So go ahead and roll plus 0. That was beautiful.
That was so great.
And that's an 11.
What a great
so
first roll.
On 10 plus, your prose contain something important to your world. The GM tells you something useful about your current situation. You say that the cave has no end, and as you say it, it sounds wrong. And suddenly a second verse comes into your head that I'm going to send you right now.
Okay, so she says, "Otherwise, I'll scream with my face," and then like a glazed kind of look in her eye, and then she says, "I lied before. The cave will stop. At the end, there's a big dark drop. Beyond that drop, we will find a way back home before midnight time." That's it. That's my poem.
You lied?
Sorry, listen. You can't control when inspiration strikes.
I look over at Nugget. I'm like, what? Do you know this cave?
No, but I know it's in my heart.
Do we have to go deeper in the dark?
I think that's yeah, that seems to be what it is.
Hmm.
Look, I know it's scary, but if we stick together, everything's gonna be all right. Maybe.
At that moment, you hear a rustling inside the cave behind you, and a human-sized anthropomorphic otter comes out from behind a outcropping of rock.
I step in front of Ethan between it and Ethan.
Animals.
Oh, that's so nice.
I am totally happily hiding behind him.
The otter said, "Ah, yes. In these caves, inspiration often strikes." This otter's older. It's a grown-up otter. Little bit of gray around the whiskers. He says, "Your small friend with the metal hat knows what she's talking about. There's a waterfall in this cave, and beyond that, a way back home." And he squints for a really long time. We get 5 panels of him just squinting. And then he turns back to you with his big grin, and he's like, "Well, hi kids. I'm Francis McDermott. That's an actor's name. Um,
Amazing.
that's his name. His name is Francis McDermott. And he's like, and I am a traveler in these woods. Where'd y'all come from?
We got a bit turned around on the path back there. How's a waterfall gonna lead us back?
We're going swimming?
I don't like waters.
I want to swim.
It's like bath time's gross. Who wants to get wet and clean? Yuck.
It's not bath time. It's swim time.
How deep's the water there?
He looks at all of you and he says, more than your head, but less than a tree. And then he starts walking deeper into the cave.
Do you want to ride in my wagon?
He looks back and go ahead and roll Animal Companion.
What's that plus?
That is plus mush. So that is a failure. And when you fail a roll, we're gonna go with Mask's rules here. Go ahead and mark an experience there. I think that's what it does anyway. I'm not making that up. So Elliot, you have an experience from earlier. There's rules about leveling up in the on the character sheet when we get there. He looks at you and he kind of laughs and he's like, where we're going, I don't know that your wagon will be much help, little girl. And then he reaches into his like satchel and pulls out a like thing of matches. And he lights it, and as he lights it, the entire cave just illuminates. And you see that there are these carvings and paintings all over the walls of this big, like lake. And then there's a waterfall kind of in the middle of it, almost whirlpool-esque, but it is very much a waterfall, like a spherical or a cylindrical waterfall. And above that, you see something with like sharp teeth and big red eyes.
Can we get a panel of like after he strikes the flame and there's so much light of Ethan looks at his amulet and just looks kind of sad.
Absolutely, I love that. And he says, well, we best be going. Want to get you home before midnight, or you'll be stuck here. And then he laughs very, very, very loudly and keeps walking.
While we're walking along, I'm gonna take Ethan's hand and I'm gonna be looking at these things on the wall. Can I gander?
Absolutely. Roll plus noodle on that.
There it is.
There it is. You got a 6. So mark experience. And yeah, you're looking, everything seems a little bit old-fashioned, and there are words written in a bunch of different languages. You pick up a couple words here and there. It's like shadow. It says like there's the word shadow written at one point. There's the word flash written at one point. There's the word monster written at one point. And then there's the word reflection written at one point. But there's nothing else really discernible because he's walking away with the light pretty quickly.
I'm gonna look at both of Nugget and Ethan. Big, stay close to me. I don't feel good about this. Then continue.
It's okay. I'm a good swimmer.
This owl guy is... Wait, he's not an owl. This otter guy is kind of scary. He's really, really hairy. I wish I knew what he wanted so that our journey won't be stunted.
Are you willing to recite poetry?
I'm trying to understand more about the owl, I guess. Can I do that with poetry?
I think you can, yeah. Go ahead and roll plus noodle. But that is a partial success. On a 7 to 9, you are swept up in your own verse. The DM tells you something poetic about your situation. It is up to you to make it beautiful.
Okay.
You hear the sound of a distant river getting louder and louder. And it sounds like the fleetingness of your youth drifting away. And for a moment, you're struck by just how short childhood is.
There's just so much wrong with the world. So many people are suffering. And that waterfall wants to take away my childhood. I need to think on this a little. I'll keep walking with the group.
Sounds good. And you all arrive in a kind of open, like, area. It's lit by torches, and I don't know if you all have ever seen in Ocarina of Time. Nope. Yes, in Ocarina of Time, Zora's Domain. It's like rivers of water and waterfalls, but there's also like pathways for people to walk. It's like a half water, half land city that you've just walked into. And walking around very casually, there are some otters, there are some beavers, there are some people in like colonial era clothing, and in the middle of this big lake, it looks like there's just like a hole cut out of it, and there's this like cylindrical waterfall. You can enter it from any side, just dropping down. You're not close enough to like look down into it yet.
Guys, I don't know if I trust that waterfall.
That looks awesome!
I don't like this at all.
I don't. Listen, when I was just, making my art like I do, I just got this sense that, like, that thing wants to take away my childhood. And I mean, I don't know. Childhood is fleeting anyway. We're all gonna grow up and die. And worm food. Like, I don't know if I want that waterfall to take it away.
I'm kind of with Nugget on this one. I don't like that waterfall.
I'm 8, so nothing can hurt me.
Before we go further, I think this is a good time for us to mention our fears. What is everyone? I'm just gonna have you pick one because this is a one-off, so I don't need to like have too many. But everyone pick like one fear that would kind of be like your number one if you had to pick one.
I chose the dark.
Cool. Anthony, Teddy, what is your fear?
Mine was deep water.
So taller than your head, or bigger than your head, shorter than a tree might be considered deep water there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rose, what's your fear?
Loss of inspiration. I'm just kidding. That might be a little too too much.
I think that
I think
block could be a legitimate fear.
You know what? Yeah, let's stick with that.
Nugget's a very introspective little kid.
I love it.
Yeah, like when the other kids were like, you can't be Bomb Squad, he's a boy. Nugget was like, I can be whoever I want to be. And you can't stop me.
That's why she's friends with Ethan, because he was like, I want to be bees.
I love that.
Perfect. And we are in this underwater city lit by torches. Or not underwater, cavernous city lit by torches. There are some structures, some houses. They are made primarily out of what looks like driftwood and seashells and like slate. It's all very colonial. It's all very like, if you had to put an era on it, it's probably like 1700s, 1800s kind of time frame. Everyone is fully dressed, animals and people alike, long cloaks, wooden shoes, tall hats, that kind of thing. And you've just arrived into this city. What do you want to do?
Do the animals seem to be reacting to us arriving at all?
Yeah, and like, is there anybody nearby?
Currently near you, there is a kind of actually startling you as you walk into like the open area where the tunnel opens up dramatically. There is, sitting up and above you to the left, is a walrus in a trench coat. He is walking on his tiny back fins, walking upright. He looks very, very majestic and regal. In the water, you can see like 2 dolphins swimming. They're kind of anachronistic compared to the rest of the world, but they're in like striped bathing suits, like black and white striped bathing suits, with like skirts that are flared out. And also near you, there is a human woman who looks to be about 70, and she is knitting a scarf with kelp.
Kelp? That sounds really cool.
Yep.
I want to point at the walrus and like tug on Teddy's hand, like, he looks so cool.
I'm tugging on his other hand and pointing at the kelp and the woman, and I'm saying, she looks so wise.
And I think our next panel is, because I imagine that you two are both grabbing the claws popping off in either direction.
Amazing.
And me just standing there like, oh, where do I go? Where do I go?
Fantastic. Are you two going off and talking to your respective people?
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I'm not so good with people, but sure thing.
Cool. Let's go with Ethan. Ethan, you're going up to the walrus. What are you gonna do?
Can we get like a really like a long vertical panel just to show the size difference between like a walrus that is standing up and an 8-year-old boy?
Yeah, this walrus is like taller than the average walrus too. Like this walrus stands at about 8 feet, 9 feet long.
Excellent.
And he's very like top heavy. He looks down at you from far above, and you get like 9 chins of walrus blubber and large teeth looking at you. And he says, "Well, hello, little one."
Ethan kind of like puts his hands like cupping around his mouth and kind of shouts up, "You look really cool, mister."
Excellent. Are you rolling a move with that, or are you just having a conversation?
I'm going to use be a friend.
Perfect. Go ahead and roll plus mush. On a 7 to 9, the opposing character trusts you, but is wary of your friend. So he looks down and he says, "Little one, the boy you're with."
That's my brother.
And I
He
think in the
never
background of that panel, we see Teddy just like peering nervously.
He narrows his eyes and leans in. So this like 9-foot tall walrus like bends over in very unnatural looking ways to get his like face close to yours, Ethan. And he says, "We don't like when people dress up like our kind." And you look down and see the lobster claws on your hands, or in your hand, because you pulled his lobster claw off earlier.
Oh, okay. And then I want to like hand the lobster claw back to Teddy. Hey, Teddy, the walrus says, "Don't be a lobster. It's not polite."
Oh, okay. Sorry, sir. And I'll hold the claw, not putting it back on.
He narrows his eyes at you and says, "We're all watching you, larger human boy." And with that, let's cut over to Nugget. Nugget, you went over to the woman with the kelp who was making the scarf. What do you want to do?
Well, okay, so Nugget doesn't have any like human related abilities really. So maybe Nugget just is like staring at her, and she's like smiling, and like she's got like a missing couple of teeth, and she just like, and her hat, like she's staring at it for so long, or her little hat kind of like flops to the side a little, and then she's like, "I make things too," and she wrote the word bomb squad on her vest, and that's it.
She nods her head very slowly and she says, "Well, that's very nice. It's very, very nice that you make things. I am making a scarf for my daughter. Over there in the water, do you see her?" And the only thing you see in the water are 2 dolphins.
Is your daughter a dolphin?
She looks at you and she says, "No, no, 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 not the dolphin."
I'm just gonna walk over to. Is she saying anything else? She doesn't say anything else.
Nope, she just kind of smiles.
Okay, I'll walk over to the dolphins. Is there anybody else over there?
Where are you looking currently? Are you like standing over the water looking in? How are you looking at the water?
Like standing like a safe distance away.
From where you are, you can't see anyone else in the water. No.
I think I get too scared. Like I get close, but then I get scared and I go run back to Teddy. Teddy, that lady
Excellent. And
said
we've got
her.
the three of you back together.
Teddy, that lady.
Is there something mean in the water?
That lady's daughter. That lady's daughter is in the water, but I don't see her. So could the dolphin be her?
Go ahead and roll recite poetry.
Oh, wait, before, can we get a panel where Ethan looks over at the woman and we have a repeat of, your daughter is a dolphin?
And she just smiles and shakes her head.
Can I give myself a beat for this one, do you think, or no? I didn't say
I
it,
think
so
you could probably give yourself a beat like halfway through.
yeah.
So go ahead and you were like, wait, I'm reciting poetry. I should make this slam poetry.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this 8-year-old slam poet.
It's a delight.
That's a 7 to 9. That's an 8. You are swept up in your own verse. The GM tells you something poetic about your situation. It is up to you to make it useful. You have a moment where you're like, aren't we all just sons and daughters of the great... This shows up in a thought bubble in your head. It's, aren't we all just sons and daughters and children of the great earth? One spirit, one body. We all are together, the living, breathing children of the sea and the sky and the sand. We are just reflections of one another.
By the end of but maybe there's the next panel, like she's immediately just like on the ground, like looking up at I don't even know, the ceiling?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think it's like a different art style whenever you have one of these poetic musings.
Yeah.
Like everything else is pretty like over the garden wall cartoony, but then it gets to like almost hyper realistic as you were like staring up into space. And then we see a panel of you laying on the stone floor staring up at the ceiling.
Nugget, are you okay?
We are all connected with each other. I wonder if the animals know more about the waterfall, because we're all one. What they know, we can know.
Cool. What are we doing? Are we gonna talk to
I'm
some
gonna
animals?
lean over to Ethan and whisper, your friend kind of freaks me out.
She's cool.
She's intense.
And I think we get a reminder, like a panel that says, Teddy's fear is deep waters, and deep is like bolded and underlined.
I think Ethan is now going to go up to the dolphins and just be like and say very bluntly, are one of you her daughter? And just like pointing over at the old woman.
Ethan, how close are you to the edge of the water?
I think fairly close. He's not afraid of water. 8-year-olds are good swimmers.
Great. So you see, as you get close to the edge of the water and you look in your own reflection for a moment, looking up at you from underneath the water are the reflections of like dozens of children.
I think he's just gonna like wave and say hi.
They all wave and say hi back.
And then he's gonna like turn around and be like, hey Teddy, hey Nugget, there's more kids.
Now that I know that walking close to the water doesn't make somebody grab you and pull you in, I'm gonna go over too.
Your reflection joins the reflection of the dozens of children who are looking up at you from the water. And these kids, you notice, some of them are period appropriate. Some of them are not, though. Some of them are dressed in more modern clothes. You've got one girl with like really like frizzed out hair in like 80s kind of style look. Got one like 14-year-old in a leather jacket with like slicked back hair. very 50s. Like, these kids look like they span a bunch of years.
Guys, I really don't think we should get in this thing because according to my muse, which is this place, this fountain will take, or this waterfall will take our childhood, and also everybody here is connected. I feel like if we go in there, that will happen to us.
Can we get like a panel of just Ethan's eyes are kind of glazed over? This is everything Nugget is saying is like above his intelligence.
It's above hers too, though. Like, that's what's important.
And I think
Doesn't
Teddy,
really know what she's saying.
I love it. I think Teddy is standing behind the two of them, just like a couple steps back. I'm gonna look down to the water. Are we close enough to like see over the waterfall?
No, the waterfall is in the middle of this like lake.
Okay.
Lake is like probably about the size of a football field. If it was like completely round, like if it was the 100 yards all the way around.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look down at these children reflections, look back at the knitting woman and the walrus, and I'd like to gander if I can.
Please gander away.
Every day I'm gandering.
Excellent. That is a 7. So on a 7 to 9, you ask your GM 2 of the following questions. One answer will be true, the other a lie. Ooh, that's fun. I never read that one.
Oh, it's super good. I love it. I'm gonna ask, what should I be wary of, and who can I trust?
Ooh, good ones. You should be wary of the waterfall. There's definitely something like dark and scary in it. And it might be tied to the kids that you see. It might not, you're not sure. But there's definitely something scary in it. And you can trust these kids. They don't want you to get hurt.
The kids being the ones in the water?
Yeah, the reflections in the water.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of lean in a little closer to the water, look into the kids, and say, what's under the waterfall?
They open their mouths to talk and just bubbles come up. And when the bubbles pop, they sound like the plinking from the rain outside. That like musical plinking sound.
Ooh, I know. Let's play charades.
Perfect. Please play charades.
Wait, before I think, can you guys hear me? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
They thumbs up.
Okay, so I think they got to do charades.
You know how to play charades? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Some of the more modern ones give thumbs up. Some of the older looking ones do not.
Okay, so how you play charades? Maybe there's just a couple of panels of Nugget over explaining charades.
Yeah, and I think while we get the like dialogue box of you over explaining charades, we get a pan back, and we see the otter from earlier standing kind of like up an elevation, probably about 15 feet up, and he's talking and he says, "We have the children. They'll be ready for you soon." And behind him, you see a figure with red eyes, just entirely obscured by shadow. And then this big mouth opens underneath, and you see these gleaming, like, yellowed teeth. And it says, "Good. Very good." We turn the page and find the next one is blank. The next panel cuts back to the study from the beginning, and we see the storyteller, this time silhouetted in front of his fireplace. A speech bubble reads, "That's all for this issue. You'll just have to wait to find out about those poor children's fate. Will they be lost in the dark of the wood? Will their childhoods be devoured for good? I wish I could tell you, but that I can't do. We'll just have to come back for issue number 2. In the next panel, the storyteller turns and winks, and with that, the issue comes to an end.
Moon Harbor Heroes is produced by Anthony Sheets and TP Huth and edited by Anthony Sheets. Anthony can be found on Twitter at Icy New Year or at icynewyear.com. T is the host of Incubator on Air, a new play podcast available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. They can be found at T Huth Playwright on Twitter or TPHuth94 on Instagram. This issue is GM by T Huth. Ethan is played by Elliot Peterson. She can be found at ELLIOTYLEN on Instagram. Nugget is played by Rose. Rose is an actor and theater artist in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. She can be found on social medias at Smiley Rosie, spelled SMILEYROSEYYY. Teddy is played by Anthony Sheets. The music for this issue is Vanishing by Kevin MacLeod. A link to the license and his website will be in the show notes. Our logo was designed by Beautiful Beasties. She can be found on Instagram at beastly.doodles or on Patreon at patreon.com/beautifulbeasties. If you want to get a hold of us, email us at moonharborheroes@gmail.com or on Twitter at moonharborcast. If you enjoyed this issue, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes and recommending it to friends. Word of mouth is really the best way for us to bring these stories to more people. And thanks for helping us save the world. We'll see you next issue.